Hello and welcome to episode 81 of FPL Apprentice. We've done it. The 2024-2025 season has concluded. Our second season concluded together. Dave has completed as well. Over 80 episodes down. And got to be honest with this, mate. This is probably the longest I've ever gone with anyone without having a proper falling out. So we're doing pretty well. But yeah, I'm Matt, of course, and I'm joined as always with my good friend and co-host Dave. Dave, the season's over. How are you? And how are you feeling about the season?
Is that because we only speak maybe once a week? Should we just keep to that and we'll never fall out? Well,
Well,
that's
they
the
say
way to play it.
absence does make the heart grow stronger, right?
Exactly.
Fonder, right? So I think something's
Exactly.
working. Yeah.
Yeah. Season ended okay. We'll come on to how we performed over the season very shortly, but season ended okay. Did I get the goal I wanted to at the beginning of the season? No. Did I embarrass myself? No. It was a relatively good season, but not an exceptional season. So always slightly disappointed there, but I can't be upset. I've considering where I was at one point, mate. I'm quite happy with the overall finish, but quite looking forward to the break. If you want to do the Club World Cup fantasy football over the summer, I will not be joining you because I'm looking forward to 2 months off. What about you?
The season's about the journey, right? So I think I've had a better journey than you, not as good a end outcome, right? And yeah, we'll talk about where we finished soon. But yeah, I finished on a green arrow and I've had lots of green arrows. So I've had a nice journey. And yeah, I think probably worth just switching on to what we're going to cover, right? So I'm looking forward to this episode, right? Because I think during the seasons, the churn of how we're doing every single game week, what players we bring in. I like taking a step back and looking at that strategic view, looking at what the lessons are, who did well, what teams did well, etc. So I think we've got a bit of a mammoth episode here, and I think we have made the choice to split it into two, right? So we're going to have
Absolutely.
episode 81 and episode 82 because we feel like it's going to be pretty in detail and probably like no one wants to be listening to 2 hours of FPL content going into the summer, right? So we're going to kick it off. First off, we're going to talk about our own Game Week 38 reviews, as always, just to kind of round off the season. Then we'll be looking at our personal season reviews. So with this, we'll be going into the weeds in terms of our chip strategy, the players that did well for us, some of the underlying data and kind of what the models are saying against our kind of performances. And then second half, then we'll be looking less at our own teams, but more on who's performed well, right? So looking at the top scorers and top performers by position, splitting that by season segments. We felt like actually when we'd be doing our own self-assessment analysis that breaking the season into quartiles has been quite useful, and it really does bring out those stories of the season. We talk about our heroes and kind of villains, and then talk about some lessons and what our plans are for next season in terms of key teams and players we want to keep an eye on. And of course, then we'll wrap up with our mini lead update, and I think goes without saying neither of us won. So
No, but
we didn't manage
you don't have
to
to
gain
forfeit.
200 points, but
We
yeah,
didn't.
we will reveal, and
I've got a
there is a
forfeit.
forfeit. Yeah, there is
There
a
is,
forfeit.
and we'll explain who gets to give me that forfeit as the loser of Matt versus Dave. Yeah, that'd be fun. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this, mate. And I'm a big fan of reviews. I'm a big fan of where can we make improvements for next season, and that seems to keep an eye on piece. I blow my own trumpet. I called it with Forest last season. We'll come on to how one of my favourite players of the season is from Forest, and I think there's some insight from the last 10 game weeks that you can really take into next season. So yeah, looking forward to that one. But let's move on over. Game week 38, pal.
Yeah, me. Who shall I go first?
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
move. We'll get straight
let's
on
go
to
to
you.
let's go to my team. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with game week 38. For me, I talk about the journey. I finished the season on a high, right? So I finished at just under 84,000 as a rank. That was my best rank of the season. So yeah, super happy with that. And do you know what's weird, mate? On this one, actually, every season I've played 11 seasons now. Every season bar one, game week 38 has been my best overall rank finish, right?
Oh wow.
So Yes, I've made a habit out of it, but it does feel nice because it feels like
Yeah.
you've been progressing towards something. Yeah, I'm kind of really kind of happy with how that journey's finished. Obviously, the overall rank we'll talk about a little bit later, but yeah, Game Week 38 itself. Kind of main news for me, Semenyo was my hero. He did the last. He was that Game Week 38 heroics for me with his brace and 3 bonus points. I'd moved Sarr to Semenyo. Sarr, of course, scored, but I wouldn't have started him. I would have started Rogers over Sarr. So, yeah, really, that's a net 15-point game, which is like as much as you can get in a single game.
Huge.
So,
Can I ask a question
that
on
was
that, mate?
yes, mate.
Can I ask a question? So I'm very interested because I think there's some learning to be had here. Because every AI transfer model out there would have told you to bring in Clivert and not Semenyo. So what drafted you towards Semenyo?
I think they would have actually gone towards Semenyo at the end, right? So,
Oh,
like,
really?
obviously, yeah, I think it's a minutes thing because obviously, when you think about models, it's looking at underlying data, expected goals and assists, set pieces, opposition. But then it's also looking at important variables, how many expected minutes the player's going to have kind of play, right? Semenyo was going to play 90 minutes, and he did. And both his goals came late in the game, right? Relatively late in the game, which obviously shows minutes is massive. Clivert, obviously, he returned from injury. He had like last 3 matches, I think, 0 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, right? I think that minutes risk was too much for me. And I think late in the day, the models reflected that. His expected minutes was like far lower than Semenyo. So really for me, I thought as well, like Clive, actually, I was looking the last 5, 6 game weeks that he'd been playing, his underlying data wasn't as good as Semenyo. Semenyo had a little bit of form and it was just that minute certainty, right? So we said last week I wanted to target a Bournemouth midfielder. That was Saka. I kind of concluded I was quite happy with Palmer. Saka's minutes I thought would be a risk. I didn't know if he was going to start or not. I expected him to start, but yeah, for me it was like a Bournemouth midfielder, and then it was just that minute certainty went to
Yeah,
Semenyo. I
nice.
think for the season, minutes is king for me, and like so many goals are like in the last 10 minutes, right? So I don't have the stats to validate that, but yeah, I think probably actually the models did reflect it in the end, mate, just because of that minutes piece. But yeah,
Yeah,
got super happy with that move, and yeah, last season I had a similar story. I think I brought in Eze game week 38 last year, and he got a brace and 16 points. So yeah, it's kind of super cool when that happens, and yeah, really, yeah, he was the shining star. The rest of the team didn't really do too much, right? So didn't get a clean sheet for my back four. I think yeah, Arsenal defense, double defense again. Probably should kept the clean sheet based on underlying stats. I think that's the story of the season. They've massively underperformed, been like quite underwhelming. I think they've caught a bit of the Man City syndrome where they
good.
concede 1 or 2 shots and like one of them is going to be a goal, right? So that was disappointing. I think yeah, Newcastle, yeah, Guardiola and Livramento didn't do anything, and yeah, midfield is Sean like Palmer didn't do much, but like I think that's a tense game once they got the goal. They were just going to try and defend it. Mbeumo got his return. Salah got his late return, which was a big difference and big swing. And then my forward line disappointing. I thought 3 very good forwards: Evan Nilsson, Isak, and Marmoush, all blanking. Isak's underlying stats were poor. I think his positions looked very promising against Everton. Another game he could have scored a brace. I was shocked to see net 1 million people transferring Isak out ahead of Everton at home. When who are they bringing in?
Nielsen,
Like,
maybe? Didn't nobody have him?
yeah, I mean,
Holland?
anyway, uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah, people
right.
got away
So,
with got away with that. But yeah, I think again, lessons for the season. Um, information is key. It's kind of worth like. Why would you even make an early transfer? Last game week of the season, there's no need to chase budget. And like Isak said, unless you're going for Haaland, yeah,
yeah.
you don't need to save any kind of money. But yeah, obviously, yeah. So yeah, midfielder saved me, but yeah, particularly Semenyo. So I'm finishing the season on a high with a 800k game week rank and yeah, an 84 overall rank, which I'm not particularly happy with that, but I've enjoyed. Like I'm happy that it's my top rank of the
Yeah,
season. And it's been nice to get quite a few green arrows to get there. So yeah, overall feeling good.
absolutely. Nice. And I know we kind of mentioned it last week, mate, but this season has taken you in FPL Tools Analytics. Big shout out to Mark who runs the site. You are back in to the top 10 managers of all time based on what you've done this season. So
Yeah, I think
congratulations on
that's
that.
I think that's generous. We'll do our breakdowns of average ranks. I think there were probably a few seasons ago. I think there'd be. I think I was number one on that one, and then other tools I was probably quite consistently in the top five. So yeah, humbling last couple of seasons. But we'll talk about whether
Yeah.
underlying players been good or not.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get a consecutive um, higher than 100k overall rank.
It's
I'm happy I got
absolutely
underneath that. It looks nicer when you look at your game week history that you're keeping it to five
five
digits.
figures.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a
Absolutely.
milestone at
No,
least.
nice. Yeah, exactly. Nice, mate. Uh, I'll jump in. So I had a pretty poor game week 38. Ended up on 50 points for the game week, 4.4 million game week rank. Ended up being a red arrow from 58k down to 72. Big reason for it was my transfer. I moved off of Herzler to Ange, purely chasing a haul. I'm sat on 58k. My best ever finish is 41. I'm sat thinking, I need to go for it. I need to bring somebody in that could get me 18, 19, 20 points as an assistant manager and try and break the top 40k. So it was purely to chase it, mate. Um, I think on a normal game week, I'd have put it on Areola. Bournemouth at home to Leicester. He would have picked up 10 points fairly comfortably rather than the 1 point that Ange got. But yeah, purely chasing because it was game week 38. And on a reflection, and we'll come on to our chips, and then we played our chips later on, but I've played my assistant manager chip poorly. So something I need to learn from this game week and take into next game week. But to be honest, mate, it was a bit of a nothing game week. Sarr scored. He was on my bench. I was never really going to start him when he's away at
Mm.
Liverpool. My transfer, if I'd have done one, if I didn't have assistant manager, I'd have probably moved somebody to Evan Nielsen, maybe. I might have moved a defender to Kirkes, maybe. But all ifs buts, mate. It's a bit of a nothing game week. Um,
So can
Overall
I ask
rank
you?
finish.
Can I
Yeah,
ask you a
yeah,
question on that one? So
absolutely.
probably quite disappointing. Obviously, I was because you've got a red arrow last game week and playing a chip. Um, I know I was big for Postecoglou. I was big for Ange and the table bonus managers, but there's a few options that we were kind of chatting through. I mean, as the Spurs trophy parades kind of happen, like the bookies' odds widened for Spurs to get, and then they narrowed for Wolves, right? So I think Pereira was the other table bonus manager, right? That was looking kind of decent. I think Pereira finished with 9 points, right? So a fairly large swing there. I mean, I think yeah, bookies odds are normally a good indication at a team level anyway how players team's going to do, right? Given they've got so many models and a lot of money on this. Did you consider Pereira at all, or was it always going to be Ange?
It was either going to be Ange or Areola, depending on how safe I wanted to play.
What an interesting
Purely,
Wolves one. Then.
not major. To tell you why, purely because I've got Wissa and Mbuma, right? And I'm thinking if I'm going to chase my top ever finish, I don't want to be smashing my Brentford players against a Wolves player because I'm just going to cancel out.
No,
So I
I,
thought I'm got all chips in
I,
one basket.
I get it. I get it. I saw like Fabio Borges, who's like, by most accounts the best FPL manager ever. He did the same assistant manager strategy as you, and then did Ursula last week, and then moved it to Perez this week. So I was like,
Did he go
I
Pereira?
want
Did
to.
he? Because he had the West Ham manager last week, I believe. He didn't
Oh,
have
did he?
Herzl. He had
Oh, did
he
he?
had Potter.
Sorry. Yeah. He went. Moved it to Pereira. So I was thinking, it's
Of course,
normally
we'll have
a
that.
good bet that you're going to get a good result if that guy's picked it. But it was bookie odds.
And even if I had gone Pereira 9 points, I would have gained an extra 8. It would have still been a red arrow. I was 10 points off my safety score, so I'd have still finished
Yeah,
on
true.
10.
Like you said, it's not
Okay.
going to it's not going to push you to your best rank ever,
No,
right? So yeah, I
no, no,
think
no.
yeah.
So but I felt a bit harsh done by with the Rodgers disallowed goal, which in real football terms feels a bit like it probably should have stood as a goal and would have been a nice little swing for me. But safe to say. No, wasn't given 1 point for Rodgers. But other than that, mate, nothing game week. So a bit disappointing to end on it. But yeah, 72k, can't be too critical of that. It's the first, last season was the first time I'd ever done back-to-back top 100Ks. I've now done it for a third season running. In fact, top 75K finishes in all 3 seasons. And we'll come on to our kind of how our ranks have gone over time. And I feel like I'm getting better at this game without breaking like through, if you know what I mean. So positives to be taken is what I'd say.
No, mate, no, I agree. And consistency is key, I think. Right, like you said, 3 top 100Ks in a row is kind of like really good. I think your 3-year rank average is going to be pretty high, probably better than mine, right? So yeah, I think shame not to finish on green, but like yeah, you beat me quite comfortably, only by 7 points though. I'll add. Like
Seven, yeah, it's only
close.
7 points.
It was.
It
I
was
beat you
very
in one
close.
of our mini leagues cups, right? I'll take that.
You did.
Backs against the
Yeah, I
wall
got.
against an assistant manager. Semenyo came through for me. What a hero!
Yeah, I won the league. You won the cup. So we both get some credit from the rest of the people in that league.
So you're Liverpool. Who am I? Am I going to be? I'm going to be Crystal Palace. Am I?
You can be Newcastle. I'll let you be Newcastle because you finished in the Champions League positions in the league as well.
I'll take that, mate. I'll take that. But yeah, congrats on a good season, mate.
Cheers, thank you very much. Well, but yeah, the good. We're kind of hinting on this part. Appreciate it. By the way, but you put the slides together, so you'll be taking a lot of the lead going forward. So really like these slides, mate. So appreciate your time putting them together, mate.
Oh, no worries, mate. And yeah, we'll cover a few things, and we'll focus on our own season reviews before like finishing the first half of this episode. But like, yeah, what we're going to cover is like where it started, where it finished, and then really go into the details of our underlying performance, our chip strategy, the stats that we got as well, just to form a view of how we're going to assess our seasons, what went well, what didn't go well. So I think, yeah, I personally really like doing these sort of things. But yeah, good place to start is the start. So these are our 2 game week 1 squads. I think first question, Dave, is can you guess? Purposely didn't label the teams. Can you guess which team is yours? Can you remember?
I do remember because I definitely started. Call me a genius, but I definitely started with the Aina, and I definitely started with Jacob Murphy. So I am definitely the one on the right.
No, nice, man. You are correct. And yeah, I think looking at both our teams, there's like maybe we didn't pick them at the right time, but a lot of the season starts, they are. All right, you've got a Jacob Murphy there. We've got Robinson on both of our Andy Robinson on both our kind of benches. We've got Eze's there, so yeah, maybe didn't get them at the right time necessarily, but we got some good players there. But yeah, mate, talk me through your squad. Like, no particular agenda. Like any surprises here? Are there any players you wouldn't have picked in hindsight? Are there ones that you wish you kept? What's your reflections now?
Yeah, I've only finished on 3 of these in my end of season game 38 team, and I'm pretty sure, including Salah, that none of them I kept throughout the entire season. So there's been a lot of chopping and changing. I don't know why I got Gibbs White. I know Forrest had a good season, but I'm not a Gibbs White fan in terms of FPL. He stung me quite a lot. I'm surprised I had him in to begin with. Munoz is another one. No, to begin with, he had Fulham had some nice fixtures if memory serves me correctly, but it doesn't seem like the sort of player I'd want to have in the team long term. So he feels like a bit of a weird pick. But yeah, I think the thing I did notice is the game week rank of 4.1 million. So that would have given me an overall rank of 4.1 million. That was my highest rank of the season. So it all went uphill from here, which I can't complain with. All went uphill, but
Definitely. I think looking at our squads, they're very similar. I'd say yours is a better structure than me, and I think that's reflected in terms of where our first kind of 10 game weeks finished. I think, like, despite me slightly outscoring you first game week, 63 points for me versus you at 58, yours is a better structure. And I'll kind of like highlight a few things here. You've got, Trent, Porro, Robinson, Konsa, Aina, as your defense. All of those were really solid kind of defenders for the first couple of game weeks and all start right. In contrast, I had some of those players, but I also had Quansah, right? I had Pedro Porro, Quansah, Robinson, and Barco, right? So I had Barco and Quansah that were like not even starting. So that's a mistake, right? I kind of like picking a rogue player, right? But I picked two rogue players there, right? So I
So,
was a little bit
now
too
I get
bold
it.
there, right?
I'm going to give you some backup there. The rumor was Quansah was going to be first choice, and in all fairness to you, he started that first game against Ipswich, but he had a terrible first half and he got dropped.
I, I, I
And
mean, I mean, it's not that's not good enough, though, like because like yeah, Konate's there, who's been like probably the first choice over him and a good player. Quansah isn't a great player, right? So there was a bit bulge just going there. So that and Barco on top of it, that was a bit too much of a risk. And to be honest, both those players, I lost a lot of money on them, and also lost points as well because I had to pay Porro, Quansah, and Robinson every week thereafter, right? So you had a far better structure there. Like midfield, yeah, it's about combinations, right? So we both spotted that Forest had a good fixture on, so we both picked Gibbs White. So I think I did that with the assumption he would be on penalties, right? The guy who started on penalties was Chris Wood. Now,
yeah,
picking Muniz over Chris Wood, that's a 50-50. I think we were both debating it. I think probably if you looked at the models, right, and the analytics, they would have all gone for Chris Wood, right? Chris Wood, we'll talk about him throughout the season, right? Obviously,
yeah.
up and down season, but a
Killed
great
us.
season overall for him, both underlying data and actual points. Right, he started like a house on fire. Right, picking him was the sensible option over Gibbs White. Now we didn't know that Wood was going to be on penalties. However, Muniz, outside of like 4 game weeks last season, had done nothing in his career.
Yeah,
Right, he had
yeah,
Jimenez there. Like going Woods was the sensible option, and that was a mistake. And then Gibbs White, if you want to do a combination, you could keep Gibbs White. He did okay. We could have gone Smith Rowe. You could have gone one of any number of Fulham
Bruno. Maybe
midfielder.
not.
Yeah, like I
Like the
think
combination.
yeah, like so. I think
Yeah,
that kind of would. But overall, like there's players there that have been staples throughout the season. Quansah, like is a good pick. Robinson, like you said, is a good pick. Eze, Salah. For me, Fernandez has been quite a good pick throughout the season. We've both started with Isaac. We both spoke of Haaland. So yeah, solid teams, but you had a better structure, and I think that's something you don't want to take too many risks going into game week one,
yeah,
right? I think is a learn there. So I think your squad was better, and I think yeah, there was a quite obvious decision there that both of us missed around Muniz over Chris Wood. But mate, that's how it started. How did it
yeah.
finish?
Well, on the started bit, I think we spoke about this when we were setting up. I fall into this habit, mate. Sort of, I look at the first 10 game weeks, and I just set up a defense where I know I'm happy with three of the players. And I must have spent about 45 minutes picking out those five, which just writing down like a spreadsheet of fixtures. When do I need somebody?
Hmm.
I think Robinson only played twice in that first opening 10 game weeks, but it's the weeks I needed him. So expect a similar structure next time we
No,
when
it worked,
25-26 opens.
worked very well, mate. But yeah, how it finished. So I finished on an 84k rank. You finished on a 72k rank. 7 points difference between us. I think something I did want to point out is I like the second chance league, right? That's pretty much from
Yeah,
January the 1st onwards. So the second half of the season, how many points you scored in your overall rank, purely just taking into account. It was definitely a season of two halves for us, right? So I think you had a great first half, of course. Second half, I had a very good second half, 55k in the second chance league. You were 254k in contrast. So I
yeah,
think if you combine both our seasons, it would have been a top 10k run. I
easy.
think quite easily, yeah. Yeah.
I walked it.
Um, yeah, mate. Um, like, I thought I put some of our averages here in like, yeah, kind of top 100k stuff. But mate, I think, yeah, what stands out for you? The 3 year average, rank average, is looking pretty tasty, right? Look at that. So
Yeah,
you're improving
that's
like
it. It's
every
dropping,
single
right?
thing in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm really pleased to see. 10 years ago, I average rank 171, probably a bit inconsistent. I think I had one season about 9 years ago, 8 years ago, where I got 40k, but it was generally like a 252k over 178k. It was quite sporadic. Whereas recently, last 3 seasons, 72k this year, 71k last year, and then the year before that, 47k. So becoming a lot more consistent. Pleasing to see that average is dropping over time. Even my 5 year rank is averaged in the top 100,000. But yeah, bang on. Poor second half to the season. 253k in the second chance league. I was 58k after game week 19. It shows you the difference in the first half to the second half of the season. And that top 10k, mate, still eludes me. Haven't got there yet, but one day it'll come.
I mean, we'll talk about how we're playing, but like, I think we'll obviously go through our own teams and stuff like that. I think there's, again, like similar seasons, there was enough 50-50s or just bad play that could have easily got us near that. Particularly you, just obviously because you were 50k like at the midpoint of this of the season. But I think there'll be plenty of chances ever. But yeah, your side, mate, is looking good. Obviously, rank average is getting better over time, and also 3 of your 5 top 100k finishes are in the last 3 seasons. So that's looking good. I think unfortunately for me, on the other hand, uh, yeah, 10 of the 11 seasons top 10, 6 of the 11 in the top 10k, most of those in the top 5k. But yeah, my rank average is getting worse over time, which is isn't a great trend.
I feel bad because
not.
it's the last 2 years, which is the 2 years you've done this with me. So I'm dragging you down, pal.
Yeah, well, it's the last one that was killer, which was like my 115k rank, which was my kind of worst ever. This is my second worst ever. But yeah, prior to the season, my rank average was like sub 10k. It was closer to like 5k average. So like, yeah, you can humble yourself. I think there was a period there where I was like, oh yeah, I'm one of the best players at this game, but you don't take into account the luck that you have on the way. So like, I think despite that kind of journey, I'm probably playing as good, if not better now, but more appreciative of it when I will get good ranks. Like, so I think yeah, it's easy to go and miss of like how much luck you need to get consistently high ranks, right? So I think I've done okay in terms of underlying play recently, but not got the returns. So yeah, like when the next good rank comes along, it'll feel all the sweeter.
Oh, come on, 10, did it say 11 seasons you played, and over half of them you've been in the top 10k.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think it's
good.
5 top 5k finishes, 6 top 10, and then 10 top
Yeah, that's
100.
pretty good.
So yeah, it's just the trend over time. But I think I don't know if I buy it. The game is getting tougher. I don't know. I think it's there's more players, right? But not a huge
Yeah,
amount. I think there's like 12 million now. There's previously it was like 9 million. I think there's basic content is more. There's more content for sure, right? We're
yeah,
chatting.
yeah,
There's dozens of people like us chatting. The official FPL Twitter is really good at putting like hints and whatnot. So I
yeah,
think gonna. I don't think it was the days of like a few like 5 seasons ago. It wasn't the days of like all you had to do is pick a double game week player and then you're doing well. But I think there's more content out there. But I'm still confident that those real high ranks are achievable with like
yeah, well,
just making the right decisions and not radically overhauling teams as well.
yeah.
But yeah,
We'll
mate.
get there.
But
We'll
yeah,
get
no,
there.
definitely, man. But like, yeah, good trends really promising trends for you, mate. Yeah, your 3 year rank average is beating me 63k versus 72k there or thereabouts, mate. And yeah, I think it'll come. I'm confident top 10k
Hopefully.
will be for one of us at least next year. Confident of
And
that.
then more importantly, see that star times 8 next to my name. For those that listening in the Supremo League, that will be star times 9 next season. So league winner.
I think you might need a more competitive league. You want it 9
Yeah.
times.
9 times in 12
But
seasons or something. So yeah, doing all right.
So I put together a little bit of a table just on like a few interesting things that kind of just can describe our story. So like, yeah, in this table for that can't see it, I've got like the number of captain points that we got and the percentage of our total score from captaincy points, because we know captaincy is super important. They've got a view of our base points when you eliminate captains and triple captains, auto sub points, how many transfer hits we took, in game week transfer point gains. So this is like, the you've made in that single game week. How many points up are you on it? And that's a simple view, right? So, for example, this week I took out Saar, I brought in Semenyo. I didn't really take into account I would have benched, I would have played Rogers, etc. So it's the most simple view there. But that's a good reflection of how good, in a simple term, your transfers have been. Our green arrows, our red arrows, and our streaks against those, and then also our lowest and highest overall ranks. So, mate, do you want to start from your side? Don't have to go through it all. Anything that stands out?
Yeah, couple of things that really stuck out for me. So I mentioned before, like my worst game week was game week 1. So nice to see that it only went uphill. I didn't realize clearly I do okay at picking captain, right? So I'm just shy of 50 points. Where I've beat you by 7 points, right? Where I got a lot of those points from my captain, just shy of 50 more than you managed to get. Going through and kind of reviewing the team over the season as we prep for this, I got quite a few from Palmer. And I hated Palmer, having Palmer this season, but there was weeks in which he got 14 points, 10 points twice on the nose. And I think a lot of people went away from him. And I
It's a
captained
long
them
season,
and it
right? So
ended
we
up
can
going
forget
quite
it,
well.
right? Palmer did score, 220, 230 points.
Yeah,
That's a great,
honestly,
that would be the top scorer, like. So I think it's a long old season, right? So, yeah.
absolutely. So he flew for me. The other thing I kind of noticed, far too many red arrows. 15 red arrows. That's nearly half of the season that I've ended up getting a reduction in rank. But what is interesting to me is you can get as many red arrows as 15 and still get a pretty solid overall rank. So quite a
Well,
few of those reds were quite small. The greens were quite big. But yeah,
yeah.
that's not good enough. I need to do better than that next season. And something you've taught me, really pleased to see this because I didn't know how many hits I took. Something you've taught me, hits are never worth it. Or very rarely, should I say, are worth it. Clearly, it stuck with me, mates, because I only did 2 hits the entire season. But yeah, the big things from me, whereas the big difference between you and me, how good are your in-game week transfers?
A lot of that Semenyo last week, but yeah, no, I was kind of really happy with those transfer gains. Like, and I think we'll go through moves we made and could have made. I think that there's a few. Well, you'll talk about them, but there's a few probably where, like, yeah, in a week you lost points, but also over a period of weeks you lost a fair amount, right? And some
Yeah,
of those, you add those up, that's the difference between your rank and top 10k. But yeah, mate, for me, like, similar kind of like things to call out. So transfer hits, I think, with the ability to roll 5, we both took 2 hits of the season. I really think you can get through this season with if they continue the rule where you can roll up to 5 transfers, you shouldn't have to take a hit at all, right? I don't think I played that strategy optimally. I think the 2 transfer hits is too much, actually, right? So I think I'm glad it's not a huge hit.
yeah,
Over time, with planning and the ability to roll 5 free transfers and having a squad of 15 players, you should be able to comfortably navigate the season without a hit. Right? I think there's far less reasons to take hits now versus than ever before, right? So, I mean, yeah, tick for us that we both played quite well there. Auto subs is one of those random ones that, like, comes to you. It talks about your squad depth, but also there's a bit of luck that plays. I think, yeah, I scored 11 points, you scored 18. That both seems incredibly low, right? I think, yeah, you sometimes see
2
some
weeks
luckier
ago,
managers.
I got
Yeah, some luckier managers do see them auto subbing like double digit hauls, like, on
yeah,
repeat, right? So I think that feels like quite low versus sometimes. I think yeah, we spoke about the journey. For me, I had 29 green arrows right out of 38 green weeks. My longest
yeah,
green streak was 12. My longest red streak was just 2 red arrows. So overall, despite my relatively poor rank, like relatively speaking, which was 84k, of course, my season's been a nice journey because there's been a lot of green arrows, right? But part of that is because I started off so bad, right? So my lowest overall rank, and I think this is really shocking, right? But there's reasons behind this. Particularly, I had a really bad wildcard 1, sorry. I played in game week 9. 3.15, my lowest overall rank in game week 9 is not good enough, right? It's fair enough having low game week ranks in game week 1, 2, 3, right? Because that's when just things are settling down. It's a bit random. After game 9
yeah,
game weeks, and if you're a good player, you should be closing in on, and there's variance, right, and all that kind of, like, and luck and all that kind of stuff. We should be closing sub 2 million, close to a million easier. That's 9 game weeks to play well and get good
yeah,
scores, and luck should average itself. That wasn't good enough. Now, I know there's a few decisions that I'll talk about shortly that contribute towards that. That's shocking play. My first quarter was shocking play to get there. We've spoken about my game week 1 team while it was structurally bad, but I made other mistakes moving forward on that. Yeah, I'm happy with my captaincy differences, mate. Yeah, obviously we've got near enough 40 or so point difference between our scores there. I mean, a lot of that's probably down to Salah versus he's at triple captain, so that accounts for like 20
Yeah,
of it.
true.
But
Yeah.
I think captaincy, neither here or there. I think my base points were good without captains for sure. And then I think generally speaking, my transfers have been quite strong. Right, it's
Be
more
good.
the
Yeah.
wild card moment has been where I failed, but my regular transfers with not taking hits and making point gains when I do make a move has been very good. Right, so 231 in-game week transfer point gains over the season. That's 40 more than you, 41 more than you. I think that was good play. Like, so the moves I've made
Absolutely.
in week have been good outside of wild cards. Right, we'll come to that. So yeah, mate, I think interesting things. Yeah, I thought it's just like a nice. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it's just like a nice little breakdown to remind us of how things have gone.
Yeah. Nice to see neither of us went more than 2 weeks with a red, because there was a 12-week period where I felt I had a red every week. So I'm quite happy to see it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But
No, for
12,
sure.
12
That's a
greens for you,
killer, isn't it?
mate. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
killer. Like that's when you start losing interest, right? It's when you're just like, even there's small reds, it's just so irritating seeing those reds against all
Yeah.
your mini leagues, right? So yeah, for both of us to kind of like have a longest red streak of 2, like it probably feels why
Yeah.
we feel quite okay about the seasons, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But 12 greens in a row is incredible. But yeah, chips, you chatted on. Do you want me to start on chips?
Yeah, mate. Well, do you want
Yeah.
to go through what? Oh, obviously, we've got what we got is like, yeah, the chips you got: wild card 1, triple captain, assistant manager, bench boost, free hit, and wild card 2. So what we try to do is saying what week we played it, and then what our point or rank games were. Like, so obviously, it's not an exact science because we can't explain like all the ramifications of our wider team, and particularly for wild card, it's difficult. So for wild card, we've used a proxy and said this is how much our rank has gone, our overall rank has gained in
Yeah.
the 5 game weeks post wild card, which should give a good reflection. Obviously, wildcard 2, other chips were played typically for people, but it's not exact science. But hopefully, you'll get a gist of it. What should we do, mate? Should we go each chip by itself? Like, yeah, you then
Yeah,
me,
let's
and then
do
go.
that. Let's do that. That's a good idea. Yeah, start with wild card. After
Um,
you.
all right. So wildcard 1, I played it in game week 6. Um, my rank game 5 game weeks post wildcard 1. So this would have been into game week 11. Yeah, was 35k, which in percentage terms, which is what matters really, right? Because obviously percentage terms is what matters, right? Was a 1% gain. That was shocking. That was shocking, right? So I think there's a
Do you
reason
know
behind
why?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple of couple of reasons. I think the big one for me was I started with Salah and Haaland. That was a big debate at the beginning of the season, right? Right. I got rid of a lot of good players, to be honest. Well, just as they started getting kind of good streaks, right? So I got rid of some of the minor players. I got rid of like Anthony Robinson just when Fulham were looking like pretty good. I didn't have any Forest players. People like the Sells, Aina, the defense went really well, as did Wood during this period. But the biggest killer was I started with Salah. I took him out game week 6 because he had a really tough run, game week 6 to 13 versus Haaland. I thought I'd captain
Yeah.
Haaland every week. Yeah, Salah won those 7 game weeks, game week 6 to game week 13. He had scored 71 points, and people were just captaining it every week. So I lost a lot of ground there. And then the rest of my selections just were not good enough to cover that gap. But the real reason why I was like lagging significantly was a lack of Forest and no Salah, right? And I'm gonna back myself on that. I'm not viewing it as a huge mistake. The outcome was bad. Obviously, Salah was in form, but Haaland was just as in form, and Haaland did have objectively better fixtures. And I think the mistake for me was, I can still cover Liverpool through Luis Diaz. I picked Diaz on my wild card, right? So that was because Diaz was matching him up to about game week 5, game week 6, right? So
Yeah.
it was game week 6 onwards to game week 14 or so That was when there was a huge gap. So that was probably the mistake, is just thinking like someone like Diaz could cover Salah, particularly when penalties and whatnot come into play. So yeah, I had a bit of thought process. Maybe it was a bit dodgy, but like I got punished there. I got punished. So mate, what about your wildcard one?
Well, this makes it sound like it was really good because I played it in the same game week and I jumped up 500,000 places, which is a 32.6% gain.
I'd take
But in
that,
the
mate. That
5 game
sounds
weeks,
beautiful. That sounds beautiful.
it does sound beautiful. I was 2.6 million. I only went up to 2.1 million.
Oh,
And in that time, I had three red arrows because I did the exact same as you. I took Salah out, played Haaland. Haaland was scoring every game. Liverpool went into some tough fixtures, and as a Liverpool fan, I'm a pessimist. So I'm assuming Liverpool are going to lose some of those games, and obviously they didn't. But the big thing for me is I bought it back in game week 10 and game week 11 because I had players that were slightly differential. So Solanke got me 16 points in game week 10. Rogers got me 9. Semenya was there to pick up 10. In game week 11, I had Cunha in. I
yeah,
bought in
nice.
Bruno Fernandes. He got 17. Fabianski got me 9. So there was I had some differentials around it that really helped me bring it back in. But that looks better than it was. Could have been a lot better. Wildcard 2, are we touching on there?
Yeah,
You there?
should go for the other ones.
Yeah.
Should go for the other ones first.
Okay.
So
And
we'll
then
go.
go
We'll do
go
it
for
in.
that at the
We'll
end.
do it on table of that, like people on YouTube. So yeah, triple captain. I'd say okay. I think for both of us, wildcard one was a bit of a fail, right? I think we should be looking at, if as good players, you should be looking at bigger rank gains than that. Yours was
Yeah.
okay. Mine was a massive fail, but I think overall we're
You've
not
done better.
passing like a C or D grade on that. Mine is like a massive fail. I think yours is like a C or D grade, but we know why. Salah.
Yeah.
Triple captain. I played it in game week 32. I captained Isak for 2 decent fixtures for Newcastle in a double game week. I'd say triple captaincy, anything double digits, you should be relatively happy. That means they've got a return, right? In one of an attacking return in one of their games. I got 11 points, so that's okay. I've had worse and I've
Chunk
had
of
better
more.
than that. Isak's underlying stats, right, were very good, right, very very good. I think his expected goal involvement was over 2. I think it was close to
Yeah.
3, right, over the 2 game weeks, right. So he got an assist and a goal,
Goal.
right.
Mhm.
No bonus, but Newcastle scored so many goals over those 2 game weeks. That was when the likes of Murphy
Five
and
nils.
Barnes were going
Mm.
insane. Yeah, like I think his well, and we'll go into your captaincy in a minute, but people triple captain Salah in 24. He got almost a record score. Isak's expected goal moment was almost double Salah, so
Yeah.
I'm feeling okay with it, but I'm feeling a bit hard done by versus the alternative, right? That's a bit of a luck play in there. I'm sorry, it is.
So I'll tell you. So yeah, this is where our chips slightly differed. Our strategy,
Yeah,
mine was to back Salah purely because going into the game week, when he's playing double, he's got Everton and Bournemouth.
yeah,
Liverpool haven't lost a game since game week 4. They've got win after win after win. Salah's scoring like 13, 18, 5, 21, 9, 16, 7, 8. So I'm like, this guy's just on absolute fire. But you're right, in game week 24, okay, slightly better against Bournemouth. He had expected goal involvement of 1.27, and he scored twice. So he picked up 16 points in that game. But against Everton, expected goal involvement of 0.4, goal and an assist, 13 points. So yeah, he picked up 29. And the strategy was when I played this, game week 24, triple captain Salah. Game week 25, jump straight into assistant manager because there was another double game week and I'd have ended up playing it on Emery. And then I didn't do that. And I know we're jumping on straight onto assistant manager next. So I may as well carry on because it was part of the same strategy, right? But very happy with Salah's returns, 29 points there. I then decided to gamble on a double game week that was not even announced. I looked at the FA Cup fixtures, tried to be clever with it, I was like, well, Newcastle are probably going to go through in the FA Cup, which means they'll get a double game week in this week and this week and this week. Anyway, didn't happen. So I ended up backing myself into a corner where I only got the chance to play my assistant manager in a single game week. So played it in 36, 37, 38. And only got 25 points from it, which, look, in game week 37, I was riding the high wave with Hersler pulling out 19 points. But to get 1 point from Ange and only 5 points from Pep when he plays Southampton, it's a pretty disappointing assistant manager chip. So overall, with that strategy, I've picked up, 54 points? Well, you picked up 57.
Yeah, like
kind of balanced out.
I
think. I should have done better. I should have done better.
No, that's. I think the times I played it was more optimal than you, but like literally, there's no point difference whatsoever, right? I think where you fucked up there with your assistant manager was like the most optimal in terms of point scoring would have been, playing your triple captain game week 24, then straight onto assistant manager game week 25, Emery, and then Glasner. I think Emery, Glasner got in excess of 50 points.
54.
That was great.
54 points they got.
Yeah. No, someone won it in my fantasy football fix elite 11 league who did that, and it was like, wow, that's doing that route, that triple cap. So what, you're getting 29 points plus the 54. Wow, that's like
83 points.
That's a big old that's a big old swing versus what we've got. That's like a net 30-point game versus what we've got. So yeah, that was the play. But yeah, my system manager, I played it game week 24 and 26. Game week 24, 25, 26. I played it on well, a bit of logic here. I knew that when that was announced, that would be a very powerful chip just based on the points that it could produce. I wanted to play it in double game weeks for those reasons, and I didn't want to wait for another one. So game week 24 to 20, 25, 26, I had 2 double game weeks, I think, back to back, and then like a single game week. I was like, certainty, and like I always do it tongue in cheek, right? But like the fixture announcements, the guy who does the predictions, he's so wrong every single year. Like people like worship those sheets, but like they're always so wrong, like every single year. So like never, and I've made the mistake again this year to a lesser extent, but I always like back the sure thing when it comes to double game weeks, right? So I was just like, I'm just doing that assistant manager. And then I think the other thing we were gambling on was that the table bonus, we said no, as soon as that came out, looked quite powerful because of the massive increase in points for both a win and a draw. And then how the table at different times of the year can feel a bit false. I thought there was a decent run of table bonus managers during that period. And I think an added bonus of the table bonus managers is that they're typically cheaper because they're lower down in the league. But also, you're not typically going to have 3 of their players, right? So you're not. You've got good players in your squad from good teams, and you've got like the kind of like random teams. You got the table bonus managers. So yeah, I went Moyes, Emery, and then Glasner. So yeah, got a really tidy 46 points that, and like really worked that the double game weeks and worked the table bonus management kind of piece of those. So yeah, I was really happy with that 46 points. But yeah, literally no points difference between our triple captaincy and assistant manager strategies. So yeah, kind of interesting.
I think you got a bit unlucky there. I mean, you got 5 games from your assistant manager. I only got 2. So I think that shows that the way you played it was optimal, and you were just unfortunate. Isaac only got 11 points, and his stats he definitely should have got more.
No. I mean, like, yeah, Salah was in record-breaking form, right? He got a little bit lucky with that, but like, yeah, he's the person you're gonna
King Mo.
He's the person you're gonna bet money on. I mean, where there was a gap, it was just like there's a double game week here, and there's some nice, tasty table bonus managers staring right at you. Have a good teams. Good on Villa, Palace. You're not talking about like a team that's going to get relegated, right?
Tottenham in 17th. let's go with big M's.
You done good with you did good with 25. Bench boost, we both played in 33 because the double gaming. I think we set up wildcard 2 strategies to accommodate it.
Yeah,
I don't dwell on it too much. I had a shocker, right? So I had 8 points on my bench boost. I didn't have a full bench boost of double game weekers, but I also had some weak players there as well. So yeah, for me it was looking okay until I believe West Ham had Areola as my keeper. West Ham conceded a really late token goal to Southampton. I think that was in the 89th minute.
Yeah.
So if Areola kept a clean sheet, it would have been like, yeah, that would have been 18 points and I'd be laughing. But like, yeah, 8 points is like super, super poor and would have been one of my poorer benches of the season. So it didn't go very well for me. And then I think I know the difference of the 5 point swing, mate, for your 13.
Henderson.
Henderson, yeah.
Henderson kept a clean sheet, got 10 points. I'd have felt much better about it if Dan Burn hadn't decided to get himself sent off, set on the bench
Yeah,
with
true.
it. He brought in a -2. Without that, 15, 16 would have looked a lot better. Oh yeah, it's one of I can't predict the red card, right?
No, for sure. I mean, 13 is okay. I think par is 16, 17 for a bench boost, right? That's 4 points per person on your thing. So you're just looking for one return, really, is the difference. 8 is a shocker. Like, to be honest, I've always said this. I would like, if chips were eliminated, I'd be performing far better. I'd be performing far better if FPL was super boring. It was just single game week transfers. Like, that's how I like playing, is just grinding rather than like these add a bit of randomness into it. Like, and I think this season would have been the same, actually, looking at my bench boost. Free hit, we both made the choice of 34. I think we had similar wildcard 2 strategies, which kind of forced us. This was the big blank game week, but yeah, what a game week for people who played the free hit. It was massive, massive, massive. I scored 93 and you got 95. I guess why did it work, in your opinion?
All the big players on the free hit scored, right? Trippier, 2 assists. You then had Sesaon, 94th minute winner. Ait Nouri assist and a clean sheet. Mohamed Salah, captain, he got a return. The big players up front, if memory serves me correct, Cunha got 2 returns, if not 3. Isaac got a goal. Murphy, I believe, got a return. Like, you just everybody you wanted to pick. You looked at the teams and went, Wolves have got a really nice fixture. All their big players scored. Newcastle have got a nice fixture. All of their big players scored. So it was just unlike last year, where it was just horrific and nobody returned from the big picks. This year, everybody seemed to. I don't really know what we had different for the 2 points.
Yeah, I think the different. I can't remember on that, but like, big scores for the template across the board. I think the difference there, mate, is free hits are good for blank game weeks. Last season, everyone's thinking maybe not. The difference for this is there was some like one-sided fixtures. There was like good teams playing relegated teams, and there was like strong teams that had blank fixtures. Newcastle and Liverpool, fundamentally, they gave you a nice structure. Wolves were playing one of the crap teams, weren't they? Fulham were playing a bad team. Last year, it was like really evenly matched teams who were playing the blank, and they didn't have any standout players. They didn't have any standout players. It would have been a Spurs, Brentford, or something like that, right? These were one-sided games with good players from it. So I think free hit is great for blank game weeks, right? To navigate them. If there's some good fixtures to pick, right?
I felt bad with 95. I feel like I should have topped a ton. I played Henderson, who conceded and got 3 points. I had Sarr on the bench. He got 12. Saved a penalty. Could have been
Sarr's the one Sarr's the one who pissed me off, because like I was saying, you want to pick a penalty. Say he's good at saving penalties. You want to pick someone who could save his penalties. And I went for fucking Alisson Becker. That's going to be. I'm putting that down as a mistake. Right? Why on earth am I going for Becker with a ceiling of 6 points when like Wolves were playing Leicester or something like that? They're playing Leicester, weren't they? Because he saved the Vardy penalty. That was stupid. That was dumb. With that, I would have beaten you, mate. Look at that.
Oh, you would have. I would have been I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Did Liverpool concede?
Lots of what ifs there, but like, these are the little things that can add up, can't they? 10 points here and there. But yeah, mate, I think that was an enjoyable week for us all. Wildcard 2 both played in game week 30, mate. What were your reflections on Wildcard 2?
Yeah, much better. So 212,000 ranked. I was sat in game week 30. Just double check, but I'm pretty sure I was on 300 odd thousand. So it really bought me, 311. So the following game weeks, it was so game week 30, green, 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 green. 5 weeks following on a green arrow. And game week 30 was a 3.2 million rank, but everything else was 1.6 and below, including game week 34 was a real standout when I got a 76,000 rank. So really happy with how that wild card went. The big thing for me with that is I went for the prime City pick. So I had a double City defense. For the first 3 game weeks, they kept clean sheets following that wild card. So that really worked in my favor. Ended up with Marmouche as well when he went on a little bit of a run. Had the right Newcastle picks. Burn ended up getting me a big haul 1 game week. Semenyo was in there picking up points, but I think the real difference, mate, compared to most, a lot of people might have had one City defender, not many had two. I think that really helped me to climb. But yeah, what about you? Because you're 66% increase for you as well.
I think some of that is due to the chips being played versus the wild card. So I think honestly, this wild card again was my wild card play. My chip play generally has been really weak this year. Well, the outcomes have been weak. I think with the wild card, it was also the selections that were weak. So 5 game weeks after I played my wild card, I gained 88,000 places, which is a 66 net gain. It should have been more, right? So honestly, I feel like I would have been better doing nothing, right? So a bit of reasoning and logic behind that, right? I was really blinded by the upcoming double game weeks in game week 32 and 33, right? And I was orientating my squad around that. So I was picking suboptimal players, bad players, rotation risks ahead of brilliant single game week players. And the single game week players also had really nice runs during that double stretch. They had single game weeks during that double stretch, right? But also in and around those game weeks, they had a great run. So I got really blinded by what was a really poor set of double game weeks in 32 to 30, 32 and 33. Like Newcastle were doing good, but it was like, Palace were kind of the kind of main, and City were the main culprits. They had weak double game weeks, right? And I was I felt insistent that I was going to load my team with double game week players, right? So two of the notable players I had in my team in game week 29, right, were Mbumo and Bowen. Now we'll look at individual players and their performances like next episode, right? After we have a short break for ourselves for like 10 minutes. But like the final quarter of the season, they were probably two of the, if not the two best performers. And I had them in my team for a reason, but I was blinded that, Brentford and West Ham don't have a double game week fixture. I ignored the nice fixtures around and their underlying performances and their underlying quality. I got rid of them, and I got rid of them for players like Savinho, right, who's competing with 4 different players in a out of form Man City team, right? That is stupid, right? Bowen or Mbuma would have been better, and actually the points they would have scored in the double game weeks would have been better. Both Bowen and Mbuma, when I played my bench boost, right, had double-digit returns, and in around that period. So that's dumb. Like the other mistakes, Eze was a big loss, right? So everyone was screaming out, pick Eze, right? Penalty taken, nailed the talisman, the best player for Crystal Palace, blah, blah, blah. You can see he was in our game week 1 squads, right? We both were a big fan of him, long-term like fans of Eze. Great underlying stats, great performer, great player. I decided, because I wanted to force like a certain structure in my team to get as many double game weeks as possible, I went Mateta as my second Palace attacker, right? He would be far better being someone like Evan Nilsson, right? Which actually, when I was looking at structures, that's probably optimal. But again, I was blinded at squeezing in as many double game week players, and my structures are wrong. Savinho as my third Man City player was wrong. I should have had Diaz like you did. I should have done that approach. Having Mateta as my third Crystal Palace player was bad. Should have had Eze, right? And then just putting these shit players in, like Savinho, rather than Eze, rather than like a Bowen or an Mbumo, having someone like an Evan Nielsen, who all did very good in this stretch, was naive for me. So like I had a rank game, but really I mean, on that wild card, I've probably lost like 40 points through bad decisions, right? And like, if you want to be top 10k or best FPL player, you need to be better than that. So I was really blinded by double games, but these were really bad ones, mate. So there's some good things for my wild card. Like I picked Jacob Murphy when he went insane. Marmouche did very well. So there were some nice outcomes there as well. But I think my second wild card was really bad. Like just like getting rid of like the two best point scorers I think for that stretch in Bowen and Mbumo is super frustrating.
I get it. I get it. I mean, you did grow your rank by 2/3, but I know what you're saying. But
Yeah, there was more to be gained though. There's no more to be
yeah,
no
I
more
get
to
it.
be gained there
I get it.
easily, and it's not like what we're trying to
It's
talk
tough,
about
isn't
here
it?
as well. We're not trying to do examples here, right? Where it's like, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and like,
Yeah.
if my balls, that sort of stuff. These are things where it's like decisions we've made that were either 50-50 or decisions that we made were incorrect, right? So we're not going for every week saying we lost points there. These are things
No,
generally
absolutely.
not mistakes in hindsight, right? I think mistakes with foresight as well,
Yes.
right?
It's tough, isn't it? Because we probably thought last summer this. It's so hard not to get blinded by those double game weeks, but every season we'll probably sit here and go, "Don't get blinded. Look at players that have got
In
good singles and they've got form," and we never do.
in isolation, double game weeks is a known strategy and kind of like brings great returns. That's why we've gained so much rank post our wildcard two teams. It's just making sure you have the right players from the right teams, right? And when there's not a standout fixture and rotation risks, right, versus plum single game week players, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah, get you, man.
Right? Villa
There we
and
go.
Palace were stupid teams to go.
To
But
get
anyway,
three of.
enough on chip strat. I'd give you, mate. I'd give
Hey,
you. You did well on your chip strategy. I
I'll take it. I'll take my wild card points. I've got big gains, but
no,
yeah,
go on,
system
mate.
manager's the one, man. I hate assistant manager so much, and it showed, which is why I used it so late in the season. I'll do better with that next season if it's still there.
I'd love it to be back. I loved it. I mean, do you want it to stay?
No, I
I
hated
think
it.
it was easy to
I
pick.
think it.
I think picking double game weeks and the right table bonus manager, so the one who had the best bet odds to get points, right? Like if you had Pereira, that's looking happy, mate. If you picked Pereira, you would have what
34,
33,
33,
34 points,
33.
33 points, 33 points through single game weeks. That's 11 points a week.
Yeah, which is good when you think about it. But I need to play it, and I don't need. I don't think 36 to 38 is a good time to play it. That's what I need to
No, no, no,
improve.
no,
I need
no,
to
no,
make it more optimal.
no. Spawn. I really like the trip, and I think the strategy is to pick the best table bonus managers in double game weeks. I think
Yeah.
that's
No, I
true.
get it.
So
Big
yeah,
fan of
this
this,
one,
by the
mate.
way. Love this.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
I'm I was trying to pay my worth, mate. Giving you pull together all the slides every single game week and come up with a script. I just
Oh,
like barely turn up. But yeah, this one, mate. I think
talent.
what I'm going to do is it's nice to split the season into segments. Obviously, I've done it in quartiles here: game weeks 1 to 10, game weeks 11 to 19, game weeks 20 to 28, game weeks 29 to 38. And for those that can't see, I think for both our teams, I put in for those periods the points, the average points per game week, which doesn't really mean anything, but our overall rank and our average game week rank during that period, which probably means a lot more, really. Because obviously points mean nothing without a baseline. So probably the overall rank and average game week rank are more interesting ones to talk about. Obviously, these are big. Doing it in quartiles is big old chunks, right? You could probably cut this into 5 game week chunks, right? But I chose to do it in this form. So I think it's kind of nice just to tell the story of the season, and also I think it'll bring out what we did well and what we left on the table, like during those periods. I
Yeah,
think without this, I was like, I can remember this now. But when I was talking about the season in 38 game weeks, it was too much, right? So I thought this is a nice way to compartmentalize it. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely agree.
so should we start with the first game weeks 1 to 10, mate? What is your story and your reflections?
Steady away. It's my reflection. I think there's some game weeks where some of them are maybe picks that others didn't have came to the fore. So Aina got quite a few clean sheets, carried on the form that he had last season in that first part of the. I think, but yeah, steady away. I've looked through my first 10 game weeks, and okay, I got Wisser in towards the end, and he picked up a few returns in game weeks sort of 8 and 9. Aina ticked along nicely. But you mentioned before, like by game week 9, you should rarely be around if you want to push on to a top 10k. Play steady, grind it out, and you should be on a rank in game week 10 of around 1 million. Well, I was 1.07
Yeah.
million, but I don't think I did
No.
anything special. If I'm honest, mate, I just played. Luckily I set up my structure well from game week 1, and I don't feel I did anything out of the ordinary at all. It was just steady play, boring play.
I
Oh,
know.
hit the wrong button there. Let's bring that back. But yeah, just steady playmates. So I've got more to talk about on the other three than that one. It just
No, mate.
it just
I think it was a really good start. I think you played very well with your structure. Like first 10 game weeks, and like you said, million is a really good overall rank to end up. No, yeah, it wasn't luck. It was solid underlying play. Me on the other hand, like yeah, I finished game week 10 at a game week rank of 2.6 mil, average game week rank of 4.2. So that in itself says there's a bit of a gap between you and I. I didn't set my team up well, and there's a few mistakes, right? So original structure, I had too many minutes risks, right? Particularly in defense, right? So I was playing suboptimal defense most weeks because I had Barco, Quansa just like perma bench losing value. Then I either play Conser, Robinson, and Pedro Porro every single game week. That's not ideal, right? I completely missed Forest during this period, right? Defensively and from an attacking point of view via Wood. I'd give his white, but he didn't do much. But like, yeah, I went without Forest during this period, right? So I missed them, and then I wildcarded out Salah for game week 6, right? So that kind of like is both between game weeks, this first quarter and the second quarter, because I brought him back in game week 14. But yeah, I lost like he had 70 points in 7 game weeks. I didn't have him, right, and a lot of people have been captaining him during that period, right? So yeah, I can see why some of it luck, some of it self-inflicted during that first 10 weeks. So yeah, really bad start. Some of it self-inflicted. Um, shall I go on to my next one, mate? Whilst I've got
yeah. Follow it
the
through.
mic. So yeah, my first half of the season was bad, right? I think that's like what we're concluding here. By game week 19, the midpoint, I finished at 800k rank. So I had been gaining rank, and like my average game week rank demonstrates this 2.3 mil per week. It was good, but I think it could be better. And a lot of engaged players, yourself included, mate, this is when you really turbocharged up the ranks. So for me versus the players I'd want to be keeping pace with, I was like losing gap here. So hinted at some of the reasons behind this. Didn't have Salah up until game week 14, right? So he was a great captaincy option, hitting double game week returns on a regular basis. I also missed. There was like Isak was scoring well during this period. I didn't have Isak during this period. I think this was when he was getting into his rhythm. And let's remember he scored over 200 points. I still didn't have Wood or any Forest players, right? So yeah, a common issue when they were really hot first half of the season. This was when their defense really came in. I think Wood was doing great consistently, and their defense was really coming. And yeah, there's just some kind of random hauls from like Clivert was getting his hauls there. There was like Ahmad was getting his hauls as well. I didn't miss these like the random players. I didn't have
Yeah.
Saar, had like quite a few returns. These mid-priced random players, I missed them, but some of the fundamentals I didn't have on my team. So yeah, overall, bad first half of the season for me, mate. But like, yeah, there's some randomness there, some bad play. On the other hand, mate, your second, your second quartile, nice.
This was by far my best quartile of the
Yeah.
season. Absolutely flew 667 points. It was really down. Yeah, it was this was the reason I finished 72k, right? It was this quartile. Some strong picks really pushed me. So I looked at fixtures, I looked at players that suited, and maybe would their big attack and option for the team. So I'll give you two as an example. Cunha and Wisser. I had Cunha pretty much the entirety of this
Yeah, nice.
period, game game week 11 to 19. Bear with, because I wrote this down somewhere. There it is. So yeah, Cunha, I had him game week 10 to 19, so across the entire thing. He scored 7 points per game that I played him, which is a phenomenal return. Wissa, I had from game week 9 to 15. He also randomly scored on average 7 points per game. So they were two really strong players for me up top. Other parts that really helped me out this time was my captain pick. Double Arsenal defence. They kept quite a lot of clean sheets at this point. I had Saliba and Gabriel. A few of them chipped in with goals as well, which was pretty cool. But captain picks me Palmer. I picked him as captain 4 times during that period, and he scored 42 points, double to 84. So over 10 points per captain pick. My captain overall during that game period scored 108 points, so doubled to 216,
Wow.
which is incredible. It's over 10 points per game week. So that's what I'd put it down to, having the right strikers and picking the right captains.
Not like you, mate. And then in contrast, and these are rather arbitrary borders, right? So the season isn't as clean as this, but yeah, next quarter, mate, game week 20, 28.
Is
where did it go
where
wrong?
it fell off a cliff. This is where it fell off a cliff. Absolutely horrendous. So during this 10-week period, or 9-week period, should say, I had 6 red arrows. So 2/3 of it were red. And big red arrows of that, mate. Game week 20, 8.2 million. Game week 23, 8.1 million. And game week 25, 6.4 million. In fact, during this 9 weeks, I only finished inside the top 3.5 million twice. Shows you how bad it was. A couple of reasons, mate. Didn't help myself. I benched 9 returns in 10 game weeks. That's pretty bad. So that's already starting a battle there. Second reason, I played a chip in 1 game week. Most people played it in 3, so I only played the triple captain. A lot of people played assistant manager, if not both assistant manager and the triple captain. So I'm trying to give myself a bit of slack there because I'm fighting a losing battle because I'm down on chips. But here's the big one, mate. Core transfers. I sold Bruno Fernandes in game week 25. Bruno, at that time, had Tottenham finished 17th, Everton finished bottom half, Ipswich got relegated, Leicester got relegated, and Arsenal at Old Trafford. And I decided to sell him for Otara. Otara had Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Tottenham, and Brentford. So again, nice fixture run. But why am I selling Bruno Fernandes ahead of a fixture run where he's playing 4 of the bottom 6?
Yeah.
In the next 5, that felt like such an unnecessary transfer, and I got heavily punished. Bruno scored 48 points in that game in that run. Otara 13, so I was 35 points down on a completely unnecessary transfer. Second one, Pedro Porro, not Pedro Porro, João Pedro even.
Yeah.
Sold him in game week 25. He had Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham over those 3 game weeks. Brighton are clearly good enough to be able to score quite a few goals against Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham. But I decided to sell him for Wissa. Wissa had some nice fixtures coming up. I sold Wissa earlier on and then bought him back, which is why he's a free transfer. But Wissa got 19. Pedro only got 29, right? But it's still a 10-point difference. So those 2 transfers alone cost me 45 points, and they were unnecessary. 45 points on my overall rank, mate, would have put me to 23k overall. So that was the big one.
I think that and that if we're looking back at the season mistakes, right? We're holding each other accountable where how we can be better players. Your assistant managers being played, waiting for a double that never happened, and then these unnecessary moves, moving nailed-on penalty takers when there was like games against relegated teams.
Yeah,
that's what's lost you a top 10k, and both were unnecessary. Like,
absolutely, honestly, 35 point difference over 5 game weeks, heavily punished.
Yeah, for sure. So, like in contrast, game week 20 to 28 is where my season got back on track, right? So, over the 9 game weeks, 75 point gap between you and I, which is kind of quite difficult to kind of get that difference right. So yeah, I was averaging, my rank went down to sub 300k from the 800k, and average game week rank of 2.5, which yeah, relatively speaking was okay. I think yeah, it was a tough period for engaged managers. But when I'm looking at my mini leagues, like that December, January, February period, I was like near the top of almost all my mini leagues. So a really good period for me. I played, obviously, assistant manager makes a big difference. 24, 25, 26. That was right. And as we know, I got really good, near enough 50 points from that. So that made a difference. Other than that, mate, it was for the period I had some very good nailed on penalty takers, right? So I had Umbumo through the stretch. He did really well. He started the stretch with 19 points against Southampton. Yeah. He got a 26-point haul against Leicester during that period as well. So yeah, he did well. Like, as of course, like I've had him for the period. I think his ownership wasn't as high as it was towards the end of the season. I had João Pedro for the duration. He started with 9 points. He went on a nice stretch where he got 12, 8, 9 points, game weeks 26 to 28. So he was chipping in. And similar story with Bruno Fernandes, right? So I brought him in game week 21. Probably kind of some raised eyebrows. Yeah, he had some big haul. He did well, and then yeah, like in game week 26 to 29. I know 29 goes into the next stretch, but he had Everton, Ipswich, Arsenal,
Crazy.
Leicester. Like he got 10, 10, 9, 17 points, right? So again, yeah, I brought him in for a stretch, and I think for the earlier half of that quartile, some of these players it was tough, so I had to just keep patience with some of these guys. But yeah, I think it was assistant manager, and then yeah, differences with Pedro and Bumo and Fernandes consistently through that period, and they were chipping in with their penalties and whatnot.
I think when we did this, there was a moment because I had Pedro and Bruno, and I'm pretty sure there was a moment when we don't know what episode would have been, but like episode 60 or whatever it was that we recorded. And after I sold them, there was a period of about 5 game weeks where only Salah had outscored the two of them. It was a real swing for us both. You kept them. What shows the difference, right? You kept the patience. You saw the fixtures were coming. You kept them. I decided to sell them. There's a 76 points or 75 point difference in our scores.
Yeah, I mean, there was times when I was debating it, but that was about pure frustration, really. I think like I was keeping an eye on just one more game week, or just wait for those fixtures to come, and then we'll see what happens.
I lost patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, shall I
That was the big thing.
conclude this with mixing and matching? So yeah, final stretch I think was pretty good for me. So yeah, I got average near enough 65 points a game week. So very close to you. I think literally, yeah, interesting. Like 20 game week 26 to 38, there was only 4 points between you and I. We had different chip strategies, but like yeah, kind of like average itself out. Yeah, I reduced my rank quite a lot from 300k down to 84k when I concluded an average game week rank of 1.7. I'm surprised there's such a difference in average game week rank. I might have done a typo there. I'll have to double check on that. But anyway, the stories are true and what matters. I think on this one, it's just chip strategy in it, really. Like I think, like I played wild cards, played the free hit, got massive point in the bench boost. All these things incrementally chip into value, and like I think by the end of the season, I don't know about you, but I think I've got my fingers on the pulse around what players are good, what players aren't, and when to bring them in. So I think I'm mainly putting that down to like okay returns in with the chips,
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. I agree.
Murphy did very well for me. Like Murphy was a standout that I had. Livramento did very well. Yeah, like who else did well? Yeah, the free hit smashed that out. So yeah, I think it's really down to chips and then sensible play outside of it. But like against the top players, I reckon if you looked at some of the top players that finished above us, they would have smashed out the final quartile. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think what I personally did, and maybe the same applies to you, was good enough. Could have been better.
Some of them.
Eze was killing me.
Bowen.
Bowen was killing me. And Boomer, I got back to him as soon as I could, but he was killing me when I didn't own him right. So there were some quite key players that I forced myself out and blocked myself out. I love double City defense for this period as well. So next episode, we'll talk about players and how they did on linked to these
Yeah,
scorecards. Some of these candidates will come out.
absolutely.
So my rank went good average game week rank and whatnot for this period, but top players would have done even better. Some of the top players, I think, would have had 100 points on me just through smart play. So, yeah.
Still finished on the highest you had all season.
Easy with a bad
Similar
start,
story.
mate. Easy with a bad start.
Built it up. Steady progress. 230k down to 72k. Got to be happy with the movements, and I'm with you, man. I think it was down to my chip play. Good wild card, so a 60% increase in my rank over the 5 game weeks that followed. But yeah, a lot of that was down to chips. Free it. I got 95 points. Game week rank is 76k. Obviously, Hersler probably saved my season. Game week
Yeah.
39, he got 19 points. That was a game week rank of 10k.
Wow.
Which is possibly the best game week rank I've ever had playing this game for 12 seasons. But Hersley made a real difference for me there. And then yeah, similar to you, okay, I had the double City defense, and that did me fairly well. I had Mbumo and Wisser and so on, and they chipped away. But the big players, I never ever had Chris Wood at the right time, although he didn't do that great in quartile 4 in all fairness. But I didn't have Bowen, didn't have Eze. So missed out on some of the players that every week is like, oh, has West Ham scored? Have they? I guarantee it's Bowen, or he's at least got the assist. Oh, there he is. Of course he has. So it's like missed out on all of those sort of players.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, much better than quartile 2. Much better. Sorry, not quartile 2. That was my best quartile. Much better than quartile 4. 3. Can't get my words out. Much better than quartile 3. So I stopped the rot at least, and my chips seem to work to my advantage to bring me down to 72k. So not horrendous. Similar to quarter 1, mate. Not horrendous.
No, nice,
Steady.
mate. Nice. But yeah, probably we went into quite a lot of detail there. But yeah, it's interesting to like review all these stories and whatnot, and what went well, not what didn't go so well. So yeah, I think it's an interesting way of segmenting the season. And yeah, mate, I think we've still got a few more to conclude our review. So like we're kind of we're grinding now. So now we're going to get into some of the data-led views, right? So have you seen anything like this before, mate?
So I know you've touched on it, right? Over the season, but I've not majorly ever looked into any of it. So if you can explain it for me as well as the listeners, I'd be very appreciative.
Yeah, cool. So these are the season review like graphs and data points that come from FPL Review. FPL Review, I'm sure lots of you are aware of it. It's kind of really interesting tool that's got all sorts of analysis, but like does a very good job at expected points. So when we talk about algorithms and whatnot, that's one of the well-known and powerful ones out there. I think there's a free model and a paid for model there where kind of like says, hey, these are the optimal transfers you can make, or this is the optimal team based on expected points. So I like to track on a regular basis. I think it's a really good tool, right? Is their season review. So this is a really nice sense check of how are you performing at FPL level, but also how are you performing based on what their model says, right? And then also how are you performing based on what's happening in the matches, right? So I don't really want you to look at the graphs and the graphs themselves, so the pie charts, right? So look a bit like the radar kind of diagrams there, because that's got a few more data points. What I want you to look at is your team ranking pieces, right? So there's 4 bits of data here. First one's the FPL rank, right? So yeah, we know what that is. The XG rank is your expected points and your estimated rank, right? The rank is the more important piece, right? So this would be your rank if everything that happened, the activities that happened on pitch, converted in a statistically perfect way, right? So if you were taking a penalty, that's 0.8 expected goals, and like rinse and repeat that for all the chances conceded, blah blah blah. It applies for the goals, the assists, chances conceded, bonus points, all that, right? So lots of like incredibly smart analytics happen in the background to churn this out. So the XG, for me, that's the most important measure because it's saying you can't really predict luck if someone's going to fluke a chance or hit the post or not. You can predict, are they getting in the area and taking shots in the right thing.
Yeah.
Same with defense. They concede a random fluky goal. You can't predict that, but you can predict, are they going to concede not many shots and be a good defense, right? So I think that rank is something I would take really seriously. I think it's one of the most powerful tools. And the other two measures are EV minutes and EV expected minutes. So FPL Review have got a model, an algorithm, right? So this is based on really how closely you're following their model, right? So every single player will have expected points for every game week, right? They're looking at your selections based on your expected points, right? And how you compare to everyone else, right? So in a way, it's how well you copy their model. But I think if you're basing their model as something quite good, it is a bit of a proxy of, are you playing well, right? The difference between mins and X-mins is like, minutes is a variable if you think about it. When you think about expected points, that we think about underlying data around expected goals, set pieces, the opponents, but then it will also be multiplied by how many minutes a player plays, right? So obviously the model can't predict how many minutes it predicts, but it doesn't know how many minutes you're playing, right? So expected minutes is what the model predicted before a match. Minutes is that variable changes and is like, the EV mins model is essentially a better measure, really, because it takes into account your predictions of minutes and minute certainty, right? Make sense?
It does. It does make sense.
So
if everything that happened should have happened, so I'd have got my best ever finish.
No, yeah, exactly. So why I like this is because FPL has a lot of noise, right? A lot of randomness, of flukiness, right? The XG stuff is based on stuff happening on the pitch. There's a really good sense check, and then the model stuff, like, is a good thing of like statistically and based on a really smart algorithm. Are you picking the right players, generally speaking, right? And are you getting kind of like lucky, right? So yeah, I think. Well, you can probably guess because it's got the FPL ranks, but kind of like
I'm on the right.
You're on the right. I'm on the left. So I'll start with mine. So my FPL rank is 84k, of course. But my expected goal rank is sub 7k. Now, previous seasons has been better than that. Last year it was like 2k, right? So it's not always aligned. And I think good players, it's really quite difficult for them to match their XG rank with their FPL rank just because of luck and randomness, right? But that kind of says my underlying play could get me a top 10k finish. And then actually looking at their model, so their expected value of my team, saying top 500 rank, like when they compare all players, right? So they're saying like you were picking sensible players and doing sensible moves across the season, picking sensible captain options. So that's probably the best expected value rank I've ever had. So it kind of says that this might be cope, right? This might be me coping and clutching at straws, but it says the underlying play was good in terms of decisions, but also what was happening on the pitch was looking quite good in terms of expected goals. So just, hey, you need a bit of luck, right? So, and I think, similar story with yours, really. Like, I think
what this tells me is I was lucky to beat you.
Well, I mean, this is why I pulled it out. It's telling me a story. It's telling me a story. I want to hear. But if you look at the radar diagram, there's a thing in the top right hand corner called variance. That means luck. What that's saying there is obviously I'm right and I've been unlucky. You've been of averageist rank when you compare to other players, but it showed that overall you've deserved your rank, right? You could have actually got quite better, right? So your expected goal is 37k, expected goal rank 37k. Your expected value minus one is 21k. So it said that you've played pretty well. Like overall, you've played very well, and with a bit of extra luck, you could have done better.
Yeah. I'll take it. I know I can't claim a 37k finish, but I will in my head. If I didn't do the Bruno Fernandes trade, that's like 5k jumped.
Well, that would have killed your EV value trust, because like the models love, for obvious reasons, right? Nailed on penalty takers. They love a 92-minute penalty taker, right? So that would have killed your thing. Other things, like if you look at the bottom segment in the radar diagram, that's like your elite correlation or coefficient. So it's just saying like with the top 1,000 players statistically, how closely are your moves aligned to them. So you can see you've been a bit rogue, right? There's not,
Yeah.
not really much correlation
Like
with me.
that
I've
is
been
my
quite template.
yeah. Like, but
Um,
this is me. I do the standards, and then one week I'll just go let's do this like this random. That's what you're trying to beat out of me.
as long as you get the results from them, isn't it? It's all good. But I think this is good when we're reviewing our seasons, how they've gone. I think this is a good thing that validates that for both of us, the ranks were deserved. And hey, with a bit more luck, we could have
Even
had
higher.
even better ranks. And yeah, for me,
Nice.
like the thing that my process and thought process it validates that a little bit. Stuff that happened and that translated stuff that happened on the pitch. It was just like, hey, whatever. They hit the post a little bit too much.
Yeah. That's it feels like Darwin Nunes of last year. But this
Yeah,
one,
mate.
mate, this one's very interesting. Predicted versus realized. And you explained who this
So
the Elite
um,
64. What's that about?
yeah, so again, this is from another website that again looks at the data side of FPL, which is called FPL Optimize. So again, another kind of tool and website I'd recommend quite a lot. Like again, this is a nice thing to sense check. Are you playing well, right? So what these graphs show, one is my team, one is yours. We can kind of do a guess of who's a what in a second. These tables show us against our own performance for our teams against the average in the Elite 64. So the Elite 64, if you don't know, and if listeners, viewers don't know, it's just a league of 64 managers that's has good managers. Like I'd say they're more well-known, popular managers versus like the true best managers. There's some great managers there. There's some good managers there, and then there's kind of well-known managers. But like, yeah, it's a good proxy of engaged players, right? It is only 64 people. But what these graphs are showing is the yellow line is our predicted scores versus the mean, the average of the Elite 64 scores, right? According to the model, the FPL review model, I believe actually. So this is kind of saying like, are you picking players that statistically are expected to do well based on bookies odds, based on the models, blah 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 blah. So are you picking decent players? And then and I say with models as well, I just say this with expected goals because I've always liked delving into the data. I don't like being told what to do, so I take them with a pinch of salt and make my own decisions. If you don't believe on the strength and correlation of FPL points and stuff like expected goals, you're just a moron. Like it's just it's just such a proven comparison. Like
I,
and like it's
I
not
get family and friends, sorry man, but I get family and friends that say FPL's all luck. I'm like, if it's all luck, why do the same people win it season in, season out? In the
well,
it's
a lot of the people who are good with it as well are very good with numbers as well, right? So it's not a coincidence, right? I think one of the people who won it was like a PhD in doing his PhD in Cambridge, right, or Oxford doing maths, who hadn't even watched a match of football, right? So I think there's a huge. If you're not using this to your advantage, like yeah, you're kind of missing the point. And like yeah, there might be a bit of randomness on a given game week, right? But we'll show next episode expected points versus points. The correlation is so close, it's spooky, right? So if you're not using these stats, right, and you're saying just a little bit of randomness, like you're missing you're missing something pretty big, right? But yeah, this kind of shows like the predicted points. That's the yellow kind of lines that we'll see, and then also our realized points. So that's the actual points that we got, and then yeah, the flat line across the board. This is hey, if you were like completely in line with the average of the Elite 64, so a league of good engaged managers. So yeah, it shows the trend across the season. Then like so the kind of like the x-axis is just game week by game week. So yeah, shows
yeah.
interesting trend over the season. So yeah, mate, can you
Worked out
guess
which one I
which
am.
one's yours?
I've worked it out. I know which one.
Yeah,
Purely based on the story we've just told about how bad my second half of the season was, and that big blue jump in game week 37, thanks to Herzler, I'm pretty sure
yes,
I'm the
mate.
bottom one.
Yeah, no, spot on. You've got it right. And then like yeah, Converse is my thing. You can see that shocking start of the year where my realized points just plummeted. Like they were so far behind, and then like brought it back in for the second half of the season. Yeah, so you can see how both our seasons have been like realized, and you can see you peaking when you got your 50k rank, right? It was like game week 19, right, where it was like
Yeah.
yeah, look at you, like so far above the mean, but like yeah, pulling it back. So Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing around like the trends of the season, and also are you performing well? I think the good thing here is we both outperformed the Elite 64 at the end. So I think for you, you did it consistently throughout the year. I had that last squeeze for the last couple of game weeks, and then statistically, our predicted points, and this is according to a model which is not perfect, but yeah, we're there or thereabouts in terms of expected points against some very good managers. So yeah, again,
I think it
decent
was solid.
seasons, I think.
It was solid 35 points ahead on the predicted. Fair play.
It sounds arrogant. I would be disappointed if I wasn't to be honest. Just like because um I've had a rough few seasons, right? But before that I was half
Yeah,
decent.
absolutely. No, absolutely. But
Um,
I'll take within 10 points because I'm the
oh, less
apprentice.
than
I
that,
need
mate.
to.
Oh, less
Well,
less
yeah,
than that.
yeah.
Less than that for sure.
So I'll
Um,
take it. So yeah, as you say, good seasons. If you can, compete with the likes of them or ahead of them, happy days.
exactly,
Um,
mate.
and then
Um,
this one really interests me. Points gained by players. I love this.
yeah. So again, shout out to FPL Optimize. So the same kind of like the same tool and same site as the previous kind of like previous slide. So this table is really, really interesting, right? So I think everyone's familiar now with the concept of expected ownership as well, and like net gains, right? So live FPL is a great tool, as is Fantasy Football Fixer. In week, it kind of talks about expected ownerships and your net gains of players, right? So yeah, this is all around, you know, a high owned player scoring a lot of points, a Salah, isn't going to make as big an impact to your rank as a low owned player scoring well, right? It's really those differentials coming through that makes a difference, right? Those expected owned players are the ones that you really want to kind of do well. So what this table shows is, and we'll play a game of guess who in a second again, Dave, is like what these show is like for both of our teams, who are the players that have contributed the most in terms of net points and net points losses for our teams. So behind this is there's all sorts of smart analytics that goes into expected ownerships, etc. But these are the players that have really made an impact. The green players are the ones that made a net positive contribution. The ones in red, net negative, right? But yeah, it'll be obviously talking about ownership stuff. That's why Salah's not in our team, in either of our teams, right? He might have squeezed in as a net negative for me, like if the table was extended, right? But you know, he was getting so many points, but his effective ownership was so high, it didn't really make a difference. These were the real difference makers for our team. So I think it's a really interesting way of looking at stuff. So yeah, like I think it's really cool. So yeah, guess your side, mate. I
I'm a
think it's
big
probably
fan.
quite easy.
Yeah, game week one, Aina owner over here,
Yeah,
which makes me
yeah,
think I'm the right because Aina are the net gain of 61.13 points from the team. It's a hell of a
correct, mate.
return.
I think
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm assuming I'm the
I've,
right.
I've never owned I've never owned Whistle or Aina, so like yeah, I mean that's and like Bruno Fernandez being my top net contributor. You got him when he just went on fire, right? So we got rid of him. So
Got rid.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's obvious when you look at it. But I think this is like super interesting. Again, as a like quite engaged player, I'll be using this tool on a regular basis to like look at who's contributing towards my team and like giving me a bit of sanity from now to then. I mean, do you want to talk about? Let's talk about some of the ones who've been giving you net losses. Talk me
Yeah.
through them.
A few players I couldn't get into my squad. So Chris Wood just never ever found the chance to bring him in, and there was that period where every game he seemed to get him.
Yeah,
It's one shot, one goal. Chris Wood. A lot of people had him as captain in certain game weeks, so he looks like he's my biggest net loss.
yeah, he is. Yeah, yeah,
So real kick, 38-point net loss. Munoz was an interesting one because I ended up getting three Palace players, but I ended up on Henderson, Sarr, and Mateta, so I could never ever fit Munoz in. Realistically, Munoz was a much better pick than Dean Henderson was. He
Well, he
number
was doing
one if
very
it was a
good
clean
before
sheet.
that period as well, wasn't he? He was doing very good
Yeah, he was
that third
absolutely.
quarter. He did very good before that wild card 30 period as well, right?
He did,
That's probably
he
when he did
did.
his
I
best.
think
Yeah.
he was the pick. His attacker
Mm.
returns we'll come on to the expected points later on in episode two, but his expected points were phenomenal because of how good he was in attack. So he hurt me, but my fault. I should have had Munoz. That was a mistake. Interesting to see Bruno Fernandes still got me a net gain, just even though I sold him
Yeah,
at very much the wrong time, but still good to see that. But then yeah, towards the bottom, mate, Saka killed me. I had him at the wrong times. Got him back in towards the back end of the season, last sort of 8 game weeks, and he got one return. But when it didn't happen, he was pummeling goals and assists left, right, and centre. So that hurt. And then Eze was the big one. I went down the same route as you, mate. My attackers were Sarr and Mateta. The Sarr one we'll touch on in episode 2. I think Sarr made a lot of sense when we bought him in all fairness. But yeah, Eze over Mateta would have made sense as well.
I think interestingly, Eze has got a net loss that's identical for both our teams, which I think is we've probably owned him exactly the same game weeks. We started with him, wildcarded him out, and then he started killing us game week 30 onwards, right? So interesting, yeah, net loss of 27.72 points over the season. Any standout? Well, you mentioned Visser and Aina, of course, mate. Any surprises?
Aina, Cunha, yeah, a couple. Isaac, considering how highly owned he is, I'm surprised to see him on my options 24.44. And interestingly,
too, mate. Courtile too. You had him when he was doing well.
Is that what it was? Is that why he did so well for me? Because
he's net 30-point loss for me. So that he was doing well during that period. You had him there.
And then Solanke seems a bit of an interesting one because I had Solanke for a little bit when he got a 12 and he got a 16. The fact that I got 0 gain surprises me. But that's a big loss. I didn't think Solanke had a very good season at all. I don't remember that guy getting many points. So he seems quite high up. I'm sorry, you were asking about gains, mate. Sorry. So yeah, Wissa, Aina, Cunha make absolute sense to me. I can see why they bought in a lot of points. I don't even remember having Alison Becker, so he's a surprise that he got me 28-point gain. Don't even know when I had him in my squad. So nice to see him as a Liverpool fan on there. But Saliba, because I thought Saliba was very highly owned. So to get a 38-point game from him seems quite a lot as well. But similar to you, you got 42 from him, so I'm assuming he was a bit of a differential at some point.
Yeah, I'm surprised that for my top gains, right, Fernandes and Bruno Solanke, Saliba, right, all netting in the 40s and then in the 70s for Fernandes. I say Fernandes and Bruno, I would have put them down as like two of my top stars of the year, right? So I'm not surprised, and I've owned them a lot during the year. So I think just there's the nature of you owning players that other people haven't owned and hold them for long periods. They're going to appear on this, right? Solanke and Saliba, I'm surprised, but I did hold them for like long periods. I don't think they contributed enough, right? I think probably more interesting talking about some of the losses, right? These would be all the players I would have identified as losses, right? Wood killed me. I didn't own him at all. You see, no net gain, right? Scored 200 points. My net loss, based on the other players I was playing at the time, 42.63 points, right? So yeah, bad. Not having Saka, I never owned him at the right time. I would have put him down minus 34 points. Isaac minus 29 net points. And then, yeah, more recently, as a Visual Hall. So I think in a good way, like we've spoken about these players before we saw this, right? So it's a good validation that we've got our finger on the pulse. But I think it's a really interesting thing because it's like, effective ownership, net point gains and loss. It's not as simple as just like who scored lots of points. It's when have you got them? What's the effective ownership of them? What the alternatives do? So this shout out to FPL Optimize. This is a really nice table that distills all those inputs. I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, big fan of it. But yeah, not surprised to see Wissa and Aina top of mine and Bruno top of yours. Makes a lot of sense.
So does that conclude our first half?
It does, mate. It does, mate. I'm gonna take this off the screen before people see it. But it does conclude the first half. Just the hour 43. Not too bad. That could have got a lot worse. That sounds a lot, but that could have got a lot worse. People might be listening.
I was enjoying it, but like, we love this sort of stuff. But like, if you guys don't, then you wouldn't have listened this far anyway. So
yeah, it's only me, you, and Thomas Jones listening. Hi, Thomas, if you're still with us, good to see. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
I did message Thomas. He's a big Liverpool fan, and luckily he wasn't there yesterday for what happened. But we won't bring the tone down with that. But he's safe. He's safe is the main thing.
Good. Yeah, well, let's wrap up. I guess you can do the formal outro, mate, just to kind of bring the
Formal outro.
official
Official end to
official
episode
intro.
81, recorded on the evening of Tuesday, the 27th of May, just 2 days after the final game week of the season. No more Green Arrow chat though, Matt. So I'll do that, but I'm not going to say bye because I'm going to be speaking to you in about 10 minutes' time to discuss top players in game week and next season. So I'm not going to do that part. I'll speak to you shortly, pal. But to you, the listener, thank you for joining us for episode 81, our season review. Hopefully, you've enjoyed watching mine and Matt's journey throughout the season and the different ways we play. And hopefully, we've helped to make you a better player too. If we have, please do hit that like and subscribe button. It's free to do, especially the subscribe. Really does help us out as we push in for that 1,000 subscribers, which we'd love to get to. But otherwise, if you are sticking with us, we will see you very shortly. If not, then whatever you do for the summer, whether you play the Fantasy Club Cup World Cup, even though Liverpool aren't in it, which is why I'm not playing it, or you don't, enjoy your summer break, and we will catch up with you in July when the game restarts. But until then, all the very best.